Hey, how's it going, guys? I'm Sarcastic here with the Hyperloops. So what we'll be watching is the finals from Nordic 2018. We have on the left side playing Luke Yoda, Martin Nyberg, and on the right, a very close friend of ours, playing Kylos. Nope, it's Klaus Stahl. I had no idea if I said any of those correctly. This was brought to you in part by over here. Sorry, Your Destiny podcast. Their little logos down there, and yeah, I got a green screen thing. So, anyways, so we're gonna play it. I'm gonna give you kind of my breakdowns on like plays and thoughts on some of the situations. We've got stolen intel over here as well as command center. No, not command center. Jesus Christ. Command tower. Yeah, I can't remember it, but it's the one where if you have a plot when you claim, you can resolve a die for +1, and we got Obi-Wan Hutt's on the other side. Obi-Wan Hutt gives any of these guys a blue shield without paying a resource. Actually, this is not the resource one. Was it? No, it's the resource one. So yeah, you can give a guy, blue guy, a shield, or for other characters, you can pay a resource. So we'll see what ends up happening here. A little bit of lag from the stream. Let's go see if we can increase speed, though, because... Alright, so we increased to 1.25. Shoveling up, shoveling up. Oh, man. Apparently need to skip minutes of this stuff. Okay. So they get their mulligans in. We have a Way of Light in Martin's hand. Klaus's hand, can't really see it in this. The lag's really brutal here. So we've got a Yoda initial activation. This one's interesting because normally speaking, you want to put like an ability on Luke and then get it transferred. So I think this might primarily be on the fact that Martin's deck has more expensive abilities. But we've got an Obi Saber in his hand that I can see from the side. So we have a Yoda. So we get both of Yoda's abilities here to get the shield. Sorry, resource, and he's deciding on the last one, but it's going to be a shield. He puts it on Luke. So we have Kylo's just crossguard Saber come down on Kylo, pings one for Yoda. So we're in an interesting thing here because Martin, and it's probably Martin, did both of the specials. And it's a little odd here because he could have potentially saved that second one for after he does Luke, and potentially fix a die of some sort. We hit an overconfidence here. Yoda's gonna end up taking 2. He puts the damn clear tokens, which are evil incarnate. But Crossguard's got a special here. We've got a resource and then a 2-for-1 on Kylo. So an overconfidence comes out. Hits both of Kylo's dice. We've got a 2 and a blank. So now, one of the interesting things here is that I guess he was concerned about Kylo getting resources there, because Kylo would have to have gotten a resource before being able to resolve the 2 for a resource off of Snoke. So I think the theory there is that his concern was just primarily the resource being resolved. Snoke is now sitting here on a Disrupt. Hidden Motive takes out the Crossguard, thereby stopping a big chunk of the damage, but Yoda's already taken 6. 7 if we count the shield that got obliterated, and so it's a little tough. Luke here gets blank blank and then a 2 shield on Obi Saber. Klaus is seemingly passed, I take it. We've got another blank blank and a 2 shield, but the 2 shield there this time is also equivalent to 2 damage. So we get resource and a special this time on the Obi. So he rerolls the Obi plus the Luke die to try to limit damage. Luke die pulls up with Focus. Focus gets to go away. Grabs 2 shields for Yoda. So claim goes off to get the shield for Kylo. So effectively, we're looking at 4 damage on Yoda. We are looking at no damage on Kylo from this perspective. I think the force speed was really not amazing here. The reason or the rationale behind the theory is that if Kylo had activated just straight up, there would have been a chance to actually just go and kill Yoda. But he plays a Shoto here now, so like the his decision tree is going to be a little weird because if he just chose not to do the speed, he could have went Shoto first, okay, and then roll out, plink off the shields, or take a shield off with Shoto, plink in, get to 7. And now, any of the damage size for Kylo would be live. The speed there is, I think, pseudo-relevant. So I think Klaus just pretty much slowed down his pacing. The Yoda rolling out to try to get to resolve stuff is very relevant. He whiffed, though, and, like, I don't know, this is why that force speed activation is a little brutal here, because it wasn't necessary to try to threaten something with it. So, like, he's trying to use speed maybe to protect Kylo, but in theory he should have already put those out there to threaten it before the Shoto came down. So we got a Yoda special goes off, that gets us the 3rd shield, and then the problem here is that he's now doing, I guess he puts a 3rd shield on Luke as well. Klaus gets to actually see his roll before he decides whether to take the shield away or not. Oh, he's going to run into the... Alright, so the Mind Trick's available now, but he whiffed completely on his items, or his options. So the Mind Trick's going to be a potential blowout here. If the Mind Trick comes down, I think you have to separate into four base damage, and then the other 4 dice. Because your job here is to essentially kill the Yoda. So, yeah, his separation here was not... I guess this is fine, in theory, because he still gets the 4 damage, but he has to deal 1 to Kylo, and he gets a resource in the process. But the other one doesn't kill anymore. But I guess he didn't kill ever. Yeah, I don't think I'm a big fan of this. I feel like I'd rather have the 4 damage there, but I guess if he takes the 3, he can focus into any of the 1s on Shotos and the other thing, or the specials. So yeah, he Snokes the 3. So my initial theory on the Mind Trick playout was a little brutal, but I think he made the better pile. So he resolved for the resource. He decided not to go for the reroll. Opponent has 2 cards in hand to reroll with. Luke hitting all them Blakes is kind of brutal. We got a pitch of a force push here. So we end up with the equivalent to 4 damage and a shield here. So I really don't think I would have taken all 3 damage to Kylo there. The reason being is because I think if he went with 2 shields for Yoda, because he can grab a shield here off of Force Training, so he can go like shield and damage. He could have grabbed the other shield with the Luke to at least prevent Yoda from dying to the activation. But he went for resource and 1. The only real relevant reason for forcing Yoda not to die that way... Oh, actually, I guess he has the Shoto. Never mind, I lied. I'm bad. I'm not looking at the Shoto. But the reason you could do something like put all the shields on Yoda is because if he has to then resolve a base damage die to kill the Yoda, it makes it harder to pair with the modifiers off Shoto and or potentially cross guard and Snoke the other die. And then a special on Yoda would have made things a bigger hassle. Klaus keeps trying to like protect Kylo activations with like the force speed, but he keeps putting himself in bad situations. Um, so like if he whiffed here on Kylo, it would have been problematic. But if he had activated that first instead, then he could have took out Yoda prior to Yoda trying to show any of that stuff. Because if he whiffed here, the Yoda could go and resolve the specials to get a couple shields and try to survive. So there's something I'm missing here. He didn't miss a Shoto trigger, right? Oh no, he ate the Luke shield. I don't think I'd eat the Luke shield there. I think it's much more preferable to get the shield for Kylo himself. Just because he's looking at 7 health versus 13 on Luke. If he stays alive, he's going to get a guaranteed 2 damage. And he plans to kind of Snoke his own stuff to get more damage in. So I'd like, to me, you want to just kind of beef up your own defenses. Because if you stay alive, you have way more dice coming out. You got the Shotos continually giving you shields. So being alive is technically much more important than getting damage in. So we get a hidden motive on the Shoto. Shoto hits, dies. I really don't agree with the Snoke ability there. I really want to kind of reroll the stuff and look to get max damage and potentially because if he rerolls and he hits the special and a focus of some sort, he can hit much higher damage than that. When I say much higher, it's just like 1 additional there. But if he ends up not being able to pair it with, let's say, the crossguard again, like that's problematic. In general, Snoke's 2s become live again as well. There's less of a concern about running into like force misdirection here. Opponent tutors up a ancient lightsaber, so we get a reroll now. So we'll see what happens here removal wise, but we're pretty much looking at 4 speed into 2 focus to show us pretty much the +2 on a crossguard and the 2 indirect on Snoke, and then resolve the melee. But he Way of the Light's the focus. I would actually I don't understand why the speed went off there. This is a little interesting because like it just, I don't know, in my mind that a lot of that doesn't make sense. Like the Torment, in theory, if you're gonna take the damage, ends up being fine. But I think I want to threaten Mind Trick. So like I'd resolve the Snoke, because what am I gonna threaten? Overconfidence there. So he has the overconfidence. He rolls the ancient and the 1 damage. I think for me, I actually re-roll the ancient and the force training. Force training is here worth the damage and a shield, so it's essentially on a 2 damage side, and it's less likely to hit an equivalent 2 damage side. There was only 2 of them. The Luke's, I guess, in theory, he could have been hoping for it to show one of the 1 sides, and the ancient to show 1, so he could kill off the Luke die. But the name of the game, more often than not, is to limit what's going on. The opponent only had 1 card in hand, so he was likely to leave it on the 1 damage. So since Luke was only showing 1 damage, and the force training was essentially showing 2 because of 1 damage to him, shield for himself, I'd be more inclined to hit the force training there. Especially since that shield off of the force training increases the damage for the Obi lightsaber. Because Obi lightsaber goes and gives him a shield, and for each shield on him, he does 1 unblockable damage. So because of that, like, not only is the force training worth 2, that single die makes the OB Saber worth 2 as well. So if he instead hit the force training and it came off of the special, he'd be in a potentially much stronger position. And he would, in theory, be concerned about the focus side, but if anything hits on the Ancient outside of the 3 or the blank and the focus showed up, he could just decide to eat the focus. But like a 1 on an Ancient, you wouldn't have cared about, so the opponent would have had, like, let's say 1 damage from Ancient, 1 damage from Luke, and 1 damage from the Obi Saber, stopping the total damage to 3, which to me is much more relevant because the opponent had 1 reroll, and if he rerolled and whiffed, it would have been real bad. But the shield from the force training is going to matter. So we're still waiting. The opponent's deciding on what to do. They're likely to reroll the Luke die here because what? Kylo needs 6 to die. He has 6 showing. No, sorry. He has 5 showing. So yeah, rerolling the force training is just real bad. I don't know why he does it. He gets the 2 on the Luke, so it doesn't matter. But that was a full difference in damage. So if instead he just went resolve force training, shield me, hit you 1, resolve Obi Saber, shield me 1, hit you 2, Kylo would be at the what is it, 9 damage. Then claim to get the shield, and then takes the 2 to go to 10, takes the other 2 and dies. So like the Kylo would have actually died this round. But then again, we also had the that shield from earlier that got taken with Shoto. Instead of keeping it on our guy to stay alive as well, it wouldn't have been relevant just because he had put damage into the Luke. So, but like these are small things that add up. So like Kylo alive here means that Kylo gets to just go straight activate, put 2 into Luke potentially, and then maybe Snoke in up to 4 more damage here. Like this Snoke rollout is unnecessary. So like he whiffs the speed, and now in theory, like let's say he's like, all right, well I want to get speed plus focus. If the opponent rolls out Luke immediately, he's still gonna have to do the Kylo thing to roll out, and then he has to decide whether to Snoke or not. If he just rolls out the Kylo and the opponent does anything else, he gets to go and decide, does he want to Snoke right away? Does he not want to Snoke? Like what his plan or intent is. So he whiffs the Kylo ability here, which is real unfortunate. The Way of Light's been hiding there for a while. I don't know what's going on with this crazy lag thing. Like, in theory, if the Luke grabbed 2 shields and the Kylo didn't resolve the damage for some reason, he'd be able to Obi Saber kill Kylo. That's not going to happen, though. But there's a... Oh, man. So he did it off of Nolan. Kylo died. This really happened pretty much because Klaus was adamant to roll out Snoke first. Like, he was all about that speed, but speed's only 50%. So like if he's looking for speed plus the focus, that's only 25% of the time roughly. It's actually 27.5%. So he's now put himself in a bad position where the opponent has 2 upgrades and it's actually Luke versus this Snoke and a Force speed, and it's not a good place. So like a lot of this boils down to him always trying to get the speed off, and kind of like protect focus and do damage. It's not necessarily a crutch, but when you're so used to doing like the quote unquote broken stuff, you kind of just put yourself in bad positions over and over. But in general, this Luke only has 7 plus 3, so he's got 10 health. It's pretty much 10 versus 11, and like the differential in damage die available is huge. All right, let's increase speed to 2 times. See where we end up with this. I don't expect Klaus to be able to come out of this. He would need. He'd have to hit a pretty good upgrade, I guess, because like in theory he has access to being able to speed focus into like full damage, which tends to be very good. But like if Luke keeps like let's say adding shields to himself between Obi Saber or his own die, he'll be able to poke and prod in prior to Snoke really being able to get in and kill him. And we now have a Luke's training to get a force push. Force push isn't hugely relevant here because it's only 2 damage. The special is very good at harassing people though, so if he doesn't try to focus off of a force speed trigger, then it just won't work. Also, instead of that ancient that Snoke did, what he should have done is he should have grabbed that shield off of force speed prior, and then what would happen is the opponent's like, all right, well crap, he's gonna try to claim and get the other shield for Snoke. So what he would do is the opponent would end up claiming early, and then he can get the ancient down. If the opponent does anything silly where the opponent's trying to, like, let's say reroll or something, then he can sneak the ancient down because the opponent's already given up the ability to claim the battlefield, or he pretty much said that he didn't care about it. We've got to overwrite there into a Dagger of Mortis, and now we have a Shoto down. So this is pretty much going to turn into like a silly slap fight. But the Obi Saber represents a bunch of crazy stuff. We got Ancients to heal and Shotos to get shields, but Dagger's going to try to steal shields. So one of the interesting things here is that the Dagger cannot steal a shield unless he's missing them, because you have to move it. So what we have here now is we have the get a shield for Snoke. Don't take his. Oh no. So I guess he really wanted to get the extra damage in. Oh, was that a take back? I think it was a take back because he realized the Dagger would mess him up. So we can end up here into a focus for 4 damage melee. But we got a Way of Light to take Snoke. So Snoke resolves the 2 indirect, taking the shields, which in theory is just really not super kosher here. If instead he had grabbed the shields, he'd be okay, because like I think the opponent's main plan is to actually grab shields. So like you could resolve your damage, not whenever, but almost whenever. But like these fights are gonna they get really like dirtily. See, like that Dagger is to me is huge. Unless he has another Dagger of Mortis in his deck, I don't think I pitched that, because like if at least you'll feel better if he steals his Dagger and then you steal it back. Oh, there was a Rise Again there, so he was scheming. He was trying to get that Rise Again going so that he can get the Dagger back. I don't know what the hell's up with this shit. So I don't think this is the lag of the video. I think this is just like the browser being shitty, maybe. Alright, just catching up again. I think it's just maybe my internet's not keeping up well. So we go into another round. We're now looking at crazy shit. Did I miss something? Didn't Luke have 4 damage on him before? Or 5? Did an Ancient heal? Oh, 1 second. Let's go look. So he's got 5 damage there and 3 shields. 5 damage, 3 shields. Oh, steadfast. Okay, cool. That lag was messing with me. So we'll just fast forward a bit more. More damage coming out. Get a hidden motive on the Dagger. So it looks like speed already cracked over to do the 4 damage. we'll end up seeing what happens here. But Snoke has 7 health. Martin could actually show 7 damage here without much of a huge issue, but we've got an Ancient to heal for 2, and there's 2 shields. The dagger did go away, so the shields are going to protect a little bit. His main concern is going to be start running into Ancients. He's got to get the damage in and get the kill. So we got to pitch for a reroll here, trying to find the indirect. We do have it. I think he's questioning an overwrite. Yeah, he overwrites into an Ancient. So we should be roughly seeing potentially focus into 2 shields, do the Obies to get the 3rd shield, and then do 3 damage to Snoke. So it looks like he's going to decide to reroll on that Luke sometime soon. So he grabs the 2 shields, and he pumps up the Obi Saber by doing 3. We get a Steadfast to get 1 damage over. So this is where things get a little hairy. Another Obi Saber for 3 unblockable would kill Snoke, but we still have that Ancient going, so it's not a huge dilemma here. And we've got 6 health plus the 3, so we're looking at 9 on our buddy Luke. I think I smell a Rise again for Dagger, maybe. Yep. The Dagger sets him up for the bigger damage. So but he's gonna, in theory, he would require the 2 indirect no matter what. So he's gonna get rid of the speed here because he feels he needs the damage. Oddly enough, I think I would keep the speed, which is a little weird. But the reason for this being that if I kept the speed, you can shove in unblockable damage, and for me that's relatively large. Just because you can go speed into focus. But he doesn't have many cards left either, so like that's also a problem. So like I think I would have Anciented to the bottom, and then Rise again in the Dagger. So he's got more defense here. Klaus is very limited on cards left. So he should be claiming here. You shouldn't even intimidate there, bro. It's not relevant enough. Your opponent's going to claim battlefield. So you would take the shield first, and then the opponent claims, and then you intimidate. So yeah, essentially he gave up 1 damage worth there by intimidating that early. Like, he shouldn't be afraid of like a riposte or anything. He's gonna have to rip the shield off the opponent. He definitely should have got the ancient down. I think his concern was taking 3 unblockable damage, but I don't think it was a huge issue. Because his timing, he wouldn't have been able to beat it anyways. He's now just kind of screwing himself tempo-wise. He's like, because, so he played the ancient after to then heal off of it. He's got 2 cards in hand. He's giving the opponent the ability to get out first. Yeah, I think just Klaus just messed up. 1 second. So the opponent has 3 damage. Yeah, Klaus should only be at 5. So what happens if the opponent has 3 shields? He can't move a shield over because he's already full. So it would have been hit, put him to no shields, and then 1 to put him at 5. So Klaus took an extra damage there. It's like the theoretical drawback of dagger is that when you're full of shields, you can't do anything there. So yeah, Luke's hiding behind shields and punching damage through. They both have ancients going. So he's got a big 6 here, but opponent has removal. He's not gonna reroll this. It just doesn't make sense for him. I don't think if I were him, I'd be concerned about the ISO there. So if he focuses over to 8, steals a shield, does 7, puts him to a lot very low. Sorry, 8. So then, yeah, hits him for that 6. Yeah, puts him to 10. So yeah, he's in a real bad spot. The ISO was only worth 2 damage. He could have essentially maintained the card and cast the Ancient. And he's dead there. Yeah, he fell too far behind the 8 million shields. And he lost that extra health to the other stupid thing. To the not knowing the dagger ability. So I'm going to stop this video here since this is game 1 that's done. But I think there are some huge drawbacks there. Like he needs to just protect Kylo a little better. Because he has the Rise Agains if he goes a little bit later. once he kills the Yoda, he should definitely try to not necessarily slow the game down, but make it so he's less prone to dying. I think the torments and him not grabbing shields himself was relatively bad there. I also would 100% go after, I think, Luke to start, just because Yoda is kind of like a special monger for that. Yoda can fix things, but Luke has all the base damage. So Yoda, if you end up killing Luke, Yoda is left over with upgrades he's trying to switch over. And without a force speed, then he'll like move stuff over, and then you kind of just mess with it. Like force push, you don't care if he specials into that. Force training, like okay, sure, but like how great was that? That's not a nuts amazing. The one that you care about is Obi Saber though. Obi Saber is very good, but Klaus needs to not do that whole force speed thing with Snoke. That's he's setting himself behind actions, and like in theory, you're thinking, all right, well, I'll get my actions back off of speed, but if you miss the speed, which he did, like it just sets you so far behind. Um, when it's that close to death, you don't want to do that, because like if not, then what happens is he can just roll out natural, get the dice in the pool, then speed into focus, and like that's perfectly fine. But if your opponent's showing 2 resources, you can't do that shit. Just roll out Kylo, get your dice in the pool. If you mind tricks, you lose a couple of them, but you don't lose Snoke's dice at the same time. But we'll stop this here, and I'll have game 2 for you guys soon. Thanks for watching, douches.